when you go through a fast weight cut, your body does a couple things to try to compensate. Because when you're under stress, your nervous system goes, I've got 3 important things to keep alive. And that is your brain, your heart, and your lungs. It doesn't care about any of the rest of your body systems because it says those 3 are essential. But really, to know if you're fully hydrated or not is, how are your muscles functioning? What do they feel like? Are you cramping? Because like you said, you got to get those electrolytes in there. And if you're just drinking water, water does not have electrolytes in it. And it is what we call a hypotonic solution. If you can't get an IV to rehydrate yourself, what do? You have to be much more intentional with how you're going to plan your cut. That might mean training yourself for a weight class that's a little bit lighter. Treating it more like a long-term bodybuilding type cut rather than a quick strongman water dump. And I'd started IVs in nursing school on adults the entire time in nursing school, but then 4 years of just NICU. And then I go back in and I see veins that are this big around.
Like, there's so many options.
Oh my gosh.
So much room for activities.
I'm going to destroy something. Like, I'm going to just stab all the way through this person. It was terrifying.
That didn't happen, right?
No.
Okay, good.
No,
good.
it did not.
Making sure. Yeah, we would have cut that out if you had told me yes, but.
No, I've never.
Do I really have to do cardio?
No.
How do I know if I'm overtraining now?
Ready?
Should I cut weight in a competition?
How much protein am I supposed to always?
Is it ironic that a podcast about Strongman is hosted by a woman?
I think that's kind of the point.
Welcome back to Lift and Load. This week, we sit with our resident hydration nerd, owner and founder of Strong IV, and honestly, probably one of the more entertaining conversations I've had while getting attacked by a seagull, Caitlin Hickman. Tune in as we talk all things hydration, what it is, how to do it, and how IV therapy might be something that gives you the competitive edge you need in your sport. With that, it's time to lock in, lift heavy, load up, and for the love of God, just drink some water.
Welcome to the actually first Lift and Load on the go, which is a term I'm going to try to coin. We are currently at the Clearwater Classic, which is a strongman event on the beach in Florida. And currently, I think they're trying to run the Fingal Fingers, which is an event I am not particularly envious of. We ran away, and I'm sitting here with Caitlin Hickman.
Hello.
So she is with Strong IV, which is a not only, in my opinion, one of the best things that athletes can have pre-comp. She is my resident nerd of the day, and we're going to talk about all things hydration, dehydration, athletes, and kind of how you run the sport. So hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. Can you tell me a little bit about Strong IV?
So Strong IV, I started as a way to be able to feel like I could use my nursing skill to help athletes perform at their best. And really, truly, it just comes from the fact that when your body's under a lot of stress, there's absolutely no way that you can drink enough water to rehydrate in a short amount of time and then be back up to competition level. I like helping people. I like feeling like that's what I have done and be useful and not just be there to bandage up boo-boos and skin scrapes and put an ice pack on something and provide a service that improved performance rather than just symptom management.
Honestly, you have helped a ton. And I will say to everyone listening really quick, you're going to hear some background noise here. We're going to cut it out as much as we can. But I kind of like the fact that we're just literally on a crowded beach in Florida right now. So that is my caveat. But back to OSG, which was not in Florida. It was in Madison, Wisconsin in December.
Wisconsin. Yep.
Which was a torture in itself because I was weight cutting. And I did not, fortunately, need your services. But I think I emailed you. I don't know if I told you this. I think I emailed you within like 5 minutes of you sending out the notification.
As soon as I had stuff up and ready to go, I sent it to Lynn. Lynn sent out a nice official email to all of the athletes on a Saturday. And I think I probably got 50 emails in the span of an hour and a half.
So the only reason why I didn't need you in the end was because I only ended up having to cut like 8 pounds. So it was very easy weight cut and bounce back. And we'll dig into that. But weight cutting is a part of strongman. It's a part of powerlifting. It's a part of strength sports in general. When I was in jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, I did weight cutting then. Manipulating water is a very real part of the sport. And it's also really dangerous. And so if you don't do it right, you can be in trouble. And even if you do it right, it's important to be able to rehydrate properly. Mm-hmm. So can you tell me a little bit about what is IV therapy? You know, why do athletes need it? Why do sometimes people need it? Because I mean, there are mobile services everywhere, but
yeah, there are mobile services everywhere, and a lot of people associate it with the common banana bag after a hangover
that's,
thing.
yeah.
But as far as IV therapy for athletes, especially once they've gone through a weight cut, when you go through a fast weight cut, your body does a couple things to try to compensate. Because when you're under stress, your nervous system goes, I've got 3 important things to keep alive. And that is your brain, your heart, and your lungs. It doesn't care about any of the rest of your body systems because it says those 3 are essential. And so what do you have to do right before a competition to make sure you have enough power? You have to eat. And if you've dehydrated and your body is like, nope, we're only going to really try to send blood to those 3 organs, your gut is not getting fluids. Your gut is not getting the blood flow to actually absorb your nutrition. And then if you were to try to rehydrate by chugging a ton of water, all that's going to do is trigger your digestive system. And it's just going to shove everything through and not actually absorb. So if you were to drink a liter of water, your body would absorb no more than 200 mils of it.
Oh.
So 20%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you were to take a liter of IV fluids, your body is able to absorb closer to 800, 900 milliliters of it. So 80 to 90% of it.
Got it.
And so that helps rebuild your system in a few ways. First, it's sending blood and allowing your system to vasodilate and get the blood going to all of your organs again rather than just the big 3. But then it also allows you to free up space in your stomach for taking in your nutrition, so that you're not having to waste digestive process on managing your fluids.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, because on the to keep it not gross, athletes get constipated a lot. And so I'll hear that when they do a weight cut. And so they will have huge gut motility issues.
Yes.
I see how IV would really help too, to be able to get you rehydrated, because I've seen weight cuts go bad. And so hydration itself is not just water.
Correct.
How would you recommend people educate themselves about how to hydrate themselves in general?
So a lot of people go by the clear pee method. All the clear pee method means is that you are putting enough water through that your kidneys are not putting any extra waste products into your urine. Your body gets rid of extra fluid through your kidneys, through your GI tract, through your sweat. Like, there's multiple different ways. But really, to know if you're fully hydrated or not is, how are your muscles functioning? What do they feel like? Are you cramping? Because like you said, you got to get those electrolytes in there. And if you're just drinking water, water does not have electrolytes in it.
Yep.
And it is what we call a hypotonic solution. So let's say you were to drink water, then your blood is going to swing by your stomach and be like, there's some fluid here, I need some. And veins are actually leaky. They're semi-permeable.
Okay.
So that's how we absorb, is it transfers through the walls of the veins, depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
And so the veins that line the wall of the stomach, they'll be like, okay, well, we need a little bit more fluid to kind of keep everything moving, and so we're gonna take some, but there's nothing else in that fluid there that we need.
Okay.
So that's why you only absorb so small if you just drink water. Now
makes
you
sense.
increase your absorption drastically by putting electrolytes in your water. And it's not just sodium. It is sodium, potassium, magnesium, zinc, everything like that. The more good natural minerals you have in that water, the better. And also, like, I know everybody says sugar, but sugar in anything that's supposed to rehydrate you will go the opposite direction. That's why so many people have such a problem with alcohol.
Yes.
Because alcohol is a sugar.
Yeah, that's all it is.
So like making sure that you have something that is as just straight up electrolyte nutrient based as possible. Now when your little blood is going on its highway next to your stomach and you have drunk that in, it goes, oh my gosh, I'm in Costco. And it just like starts taking everything. So what I said earlier about, like, if you drink a liter of water and you only get up to 20% of it, when you take it by mouth with electrolytes, you're getting closer to 30 to 40%.
Okay.
It's still not as like boom ton, but it's way better. And it just allows you to facilitate that like reintroduction of proper fluid volume into your cells so that they can work.
did you have a history in knowing about all this just like from being a nurse? Because going from nursing to IV, that's a very specific trajectory. So like, how did you get from nursing and having this, I'd say like institutional and general knowledge to like, oh, I'm going to become an IV nurse specifically. I'm going to start a company around it.
So all of my nursing background has been in the ICU level.
Got it.
And I did neonatal ICU for 4 years with little teeny tiny babies.
Oh God.
But
teeny tiny veins, teeny tiny everything.
Teeny tiny veins.
Yeah.
Like teeny tinies. But I was in a hospital that was very cardiac focused.
Okay.
And so I started being obsessive about the cardiac and circulatory system from a very early time in my nursing career. When I left the NICU, I went to a cardiac ICU with adults.
Slightly bigger veins.
I was terrified of the veins at first because all I knew was the little tiny baby veins. And
That's
the first
true.
time that I held, and I'd started IVs in nursing school on adults the entire time in nursing school,
Yeah.
but then 4 years of just NICU. And then I go back in and I see veins that are this big around.
Like, there's so many options.
Oh my gosh,
so much room for activities.
I'm going to destroy something. Like I'm going to just stab all the way through this person. It was terrifying.
That didn't happen, right?
No.
Okay, good.
No,
good. I was
it
just
did not.
Making sure. Yeah, we would have cut that out if you had told me yes, but
No, I've never stabbed through anyone.
excellent. That just brings me comfort to know that baseline fact about you, and I feel like that's relevant to veins. Like I just like to know who I'm sitting next to. It's fine.
So I did adult cardiac ICU,
Okay.
and then I made friends with the nurses who were on the IV team at the hospital. Because I ended up, because I came from NICU and then into cardiac, I developed a very fine-tuned touch with understanding, like with feeling how the vein goes through. So I was good stick. Not every nurse can stick.
Oh, I know. I've only had to do, thank God, a surgery once, and it was like wisdom teeth when I was like 14. But I remember that they tried. So I have, since doing Strongman, I've become more vascular.
Right.
But I really, I've got that guy now. Didn't used to have that guy. I'm just kind of like a solid, dense individual. And so they stuck my arm, like, I think 3 or 4 times, and they couldn't find a vein, couldn't get a vein.
Yeah.
I was also like, I was a little overweight at that age, but so like there's this extra stuff, right? Yeah. And so they went to the other arm 3 or 4 times, and I remember the nurse going, "This is impossible." And you want to know what a kid who's 14 doesn't want to hear when they're poking you repeatedly? They had to go in my hand. That's the only way they went. And so I remember they're like, "Got it," and they're like, "Countdown back." I remember them going, "Where are you going to? Are you going to a concert or something?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going." Gone. So that's my trauma.
It is technically a basic tenet of nursing skill is to be able to start an IV, but I mean, that's like saying that everybody's a good driver or everybody's a good cook, or just because you know how to doesn't mean you are skilled at it.
Yeah.
I joined the IV team. I got specialized. I play central lines. So I actually use ultrasound and stuff for my procedures.
Oh, wow.
So I do sterile procedures at the bedside. I use ultrasound to like find the large veins, and I thread lines from those large veins all the way almost to the heart. Like that's my specialty inside the hospital.
You are more hardcore than I will ever be, but happy.
But it's really cool because like I use the heart rhythm to like gauge exactly where I'm at, and it's super fun. And then I can explain it to the patient like I'm not actually touching your heart, but I know exactly where I'm at based off of what your heart's telling me.
Oh, they're awake. Like when you're doing that?
Oh yeah, I'm talking to them the whole time.
Cool.
Yeah. No, I numb the area.
Okay,
like they get a little numbing shot and stuff, but no, they're talking to me unless they're in the ICU and intubated and sedated and then I can just put on my music and go.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But all throughout this time of working as a nurse, I wanted to still stay involved in the athlete community. And so I started volunteering with the CrossFit medical team about like 8 years ago, I think.
Okay.
And so I've gone all over the country with the CrossFit medical team doing Wadapalooza, the CrossFit Games, West Coast Classic, Rogue Invitational. It helped kind of reinforce the why I take care of people thing, because when you're in a hospital for so long, and any other nurses will know this, when you're just constantly around sick people, you kind of lose your passion for caring for people because it feels like it never ends.
Right.
And
that's hard.
Yeah, you as a nurse, you have to find another way to reignite your passion for why you became a nurse.
Yeah.
And so mine was giving my time and my skill back to athletes. But I was just, showing up, bandaging hand tears, putting slings on, sometimes holding somebody in C-spine because they fell mid-workout during handstand push-ups and then couldn't walk afterwards.
I never thought of that. You just fall right on your head.
Oh yeah, just
Okay.
the nutshell is.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of amazing people.
Yeah.
A lot of
It's
people
hardcore.
a lot of people that have inspired me to not only, keep my knowledge growing outside of the hospital environment, but also keep pushing myself and keep trying different avenues of fitness and training and everything like that. I had done so much field work with the CrossFit events that at that point I was like, I really appreciate a well-run clinic.
Yeah.
So shout out to my team leader, Josh Hicks from CrossFit. If anybody's in the CrossFit world, you know who he is. And I was like, hey, I'm cool with like making sure that the clinic is run and oriented. I'll handle incident reports. I'll make sure that anybody comes in if we need to triage them out and everything. And so I started running the clinic and doing it that way. And it kind of gave me a control hub, which was really, really nice because then I could make sure that any athlete that came into the clinic had a specific experience and left feeling like they were prioritized and taken care of and gave them a little bit of confidence.
Yeah.
So then Rogue Invitational rolls around the first year that they had Strongman with Rogue Invitational. And I told him, I was like, I'll man the clinic for all the CrossFit stuff. And I was like, I want to see what this Strongman stuff is about in person. Like I've watched it on TV. I used to watch it with my grandma and stuff on TV and everything. I was like, I want to watch it in person.
Yeah.
Like I want to see what this is actually like.
Yeah.
And I went out onto the baseball diamond to help the Strongman athletes. And I was just absolutely blown away. Not by how strong they were, but by how welcoming everybody was.
They're so nice. Most, but like they're so cool.
And I mean, you're going to get personalities that don't mesh no matter where you are. But by and large, the Strongman community has just welcomed me in with open arms. And what really made me happy to be there and stuff was all of the people that were there with coaches bands on were their wives and their girlfriends and it gave me a feeling of I could belong here. I could help this community. Like I feel like there's a need.
Yeah.
Because there's their family and stuff helping them, but nobody knew how to take care of them.
No, I mean, it's truly just all heart and sometimes not a lot of knowledge. It's just people putting things together and figuring it out.
So because nobody really knew how to take care of them, nobody from our medical team at first was like, we don't know how to handle, like, they are bleeding from their nose. They are about to pass out. They're carrying massive weights and then they fall over and then they get up and then they're fine.
Okay. Yeah. It's a different kind of load on the body. I feel like you see less injuries and more like, I guess, overexertion is a way of phrasing it.
It's a lot of overexertion. It's a lot more central nervous system overload.
Yes.
Which is a whole other area of fascination for my little nerd brain.
Yeah.
But the big point is that like I just felt very strongly I belong here.
Yeah.
And everybody has been so fantastic and so welcoming. So I have not been in the sport for a very long time, but the short amount of time that I have been here has just been fantastic. And I'm not planning on going anywhere anytime soon.
Please don't, because I haven't needed you yet, but I might need you.
You might need me
I might need
point.
you.
I will help you.
Help. Help me. I have needed IVs before, and I have always been in sports. And actually, I would love to talk about this because you taught me something on our pre-call where IVs aren't allowed in a lot of sports because it's such a no-brainer, right? People go, well, yeah, IV totally makes sense. I'm a high-level triathlete. I'm going to go get one. Wrong.
Correct.
For a lot of sports.
Correct. So, because, and I mean, if you think about it, when you increase the volume of fluid that is in your blood, then naturally the volume of fluid that goes to your kidneys and then goes through your bladder and is going to be higher, which can mask banned substances. I don't do any electrolytes that are going to potentially affect the heart. So I want to be super, super clear on that because
the product is safe. It just can mask something that,
I've had people ask me if I put potassium and stuff in my IVs. No, I will not do that, because you never know how somebody's heart is going to react to an extra amount of potassium via IV.
Yeah, because the concentration level and absorption
exactly.
is through the roof.
And again, because the absorption is 3 to 4 times higher than what you would take in by mouth, I'm not going to play that game. But yeah, the anti-doping agency rules are very, very particular about not letting high-level athletes in certain fields do IV hydration, even on their training circuits, not even just at competition, but throughout the training
so
circuits.
like if I'm an Olympic cyclist, right? Because that's obviously a very big anti-doping establishment. If I'm 6 weeks out from a comp, theoretically aren't allowed to get IVs either?
I don't believe so, no.
Wow.
And so at that point, it's super, super important just to make sure you check with your coach.
Yeah.
And you check with the governing body to make sure, because every single sport kind of has their own different set of rules. But the most important thing is you want to make sure that you're not going to do anything that whatever your governing body is going to have a problem with.
Does that mean you couldn't do natural strongman competitions?
I would have to look into that.
Yeah, that's interesting, because we have a couple people like in our gym and in Strongman Institute that are doing the natural. And I'm taking a look at, I would love to do, not this year, but next year, a route to get to Natural Worlds. Because this year it's in Ireland, and I'm like, that's super cool. I can only imagine where it's at next time.
Right.
So the IVs would be nice.
They would be.
I understand the logic behind that.
Yeah. So then if you can't get an IV to rehydrate yourself, what do you do?
Yeah. So do you have recommendations on that?
You have to be much more intentional with how you're going to plan your cut. You have to be not as aggressive. And so that might mean training yourself for a weight class that's a little bit lighter. It's going to be much more precise as far as how you're marching down your water intake, and spreading it out over the span of like 8 weeks instead of 2 to 3 for the cut. So treating it more like a long-term bodybuilding type cut,
right,
rather than a quick strongman water dump.
Yeah.
And then also making sure you're getting your blood work done regularly to make sure that your electrolytes aren't doing something funky. And then of course, talk with your coach, talk with your nutrition counselor to make sure that you're getting the stuff that you need and managing your immune system. Because if your immune system kicks off, then everything is going to go out the window as far as your ability to actually prioritize where your hydration's going.
Right. Yeah. And so I gave a summer on water cutting 2-3 weeks ago now with Strongman Institute. We talked more about the concept of what is a water cut to people who were not familiar, right? And so fact check me on this. I have always personally kind of lived by and believed if you're an experienced person with water cutting, you really can, lose 8 to 10% of your body weight in water without creating long-term damage if you're smart about it. But if you're a beginner, and that is a generalized statement, I will say, women, I don't like it as much because we tend to retain more water. And if you're a beginner, first competition, don't water cut. That's my personal thing. Like, don't do it. Don't stress your body. Don't stress yourself. If you're a little bit of a novice, I'd say, 3 to 5% is really the sweet spot. But I think this is an extreme sport at the end of the day, and people are going to do extreme things. So like my check engine light, I think, goes on at about 10% for people.
I mean, 10% is pretty significant.
Yeah.
I have dabbled in competing in bodybuilding, and so I know what my body does when I'm down 15 pounds from what I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I've never tried to cut that amount in any faster time span than 6 weeks.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I absolutely agree with your recommendation. If you're just getting into it, don't cut.
Yeah.
Don't try to cut, because your body needs to learn what the competition is like when you are at your best. And really, truly, if you're cutting that much water weight, even with an IV or something like that, there's no way that your body is going to be at 100% within 24 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're just trying to train yourself and build up your understanding of the sport and figure out if this is for you, you need to give yourself the grace to be kind to your system and let your nervous system understand, okay, this is the process that we're going to have to go through the competition, and then start increasing your pre-taxes from there. you just got to be careful about it. And then, like you said, it's an extreme sport. There are people who are going to do it to
They're
the
going
extreme.
to do the dumb things. Like
Exactly.
I'm trying to help educate the masses, but I also know people will go, oh, I know my body. I'm 200 pounds, but I can lose 30. Like, bruh, please don't compete in the 80 kilo, but you know, you're going to do what you want to do. Yeah,
That's a lot.
it's a lot. It is a lot. And that goes back to the type of athlete. So like women, we tend to just retain a little more water.
Mm-hmm.
It's also, it has to do with muscle. So water hangs out in your muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Preferably that's what you want to lose. You don't want to lose the organ muscle and the brain muscle. The brain water and the organ water. Not a good time. But you know, your muscle does hang out with some water, and that's the part that you can cut.
Mm-hmm.
The skin, you know, you think of all the Hugh Jackmans and the Henry Cavills like to make look really ripped, and they'll dehydrate and they look great for 5 seconds and then they rehydrate.
Especially actors for action movie roles and stuff significantly dehydrate before they have to go on screen for their short things, and that's not what they walk around looking like at all.
It's not at all.
So you mentioned that you had heard that Jason Momoa chugged a Guinness before he had to go on screen to make himself look super, super vascular.
Yeah.
And I was like, a lot of bodybuilders will dehydrate real hard and then take in some really strong coffee. So taking in the really strong coffee doesn't necessarily vasodilate, but what it does is it speeds up their heart rate.
Yeah.
And so that causes the vasodilation. So your
Got
body.
it. So you're just like turbo blasting essentially.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes
exactly.
sense.
So Guinness is a lot of volume and it has a lot of minerals and stuff in it.
And carbs.
Yeah.
Which I mean, is
and
like,
alcohol vasodilates. That's why like people who drink a lot, get that red nose. It's because the capillaries in their nose actually burst from too much alcohol intake.
I've heard that too with like tattoo artists, and that's why they will. Beyond the ethical thing of not tattooing someone drunk,
So,
they bleed more.
People will say it's a vasodilate or it's a blood thinner. Alcohol's not a blood thinner; it's a vasodilator. Like that's why what you take in to rehydrate really matters, because you'll get these people who are selling rehydration stuff, and you look at the ingredient list on it and it's got stimulants.
Yeah.
And it's going to make it seem like you're rehydrating when really all it's doing is upping your heart rate. And that puts a massive amount of stress on your system overall, because if you were dehydrated, then congratulations, you're just asking your heart to work harder.
Right.
And then more vasodilation means more blood flow to the kidney, which means you're going to pee out more of that, and really you're not going to get as much of an effect from that.
God.
So that's why it's really
such a perfect
important.
storm.
That's why it's really important to check what's in your electrolyte powder.
And you know, some of the biggest brands, I'll use Liquid IV for example, is full of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people have been talking about things like that, how certain and now they have a sugar-free option that is incredibly popular. It's sold out at Costco in like 5 minutes. And so a lot of people talk about how to rehydrate, and how, like, I personally love Element. So that one has no real sugar in it. I think it's great. Do you have any recommendations on electrolyte mixes for people that don't do IV, or like one that you prefer? Because you have dabbled in the competing.
So I wouldn't say that there's necessarily one or the other that's going to this is your gold standard.
That's good to know.
Your system is going to respond differently, but the important thing is to find a routine.
Yeah.
Because if you don't at least find a routine, you can't change your variables and have good results.
Right.
Like if you change everything all at once, you never know what worked.
Yeah.
So get a routine and start changing little bits, and then track how you feel. It sounds silly, but like keep a pee diary. Doctors say keep a poop diary, which that's a good idea too, but keep a pee diary. Like not just what color it was, but like pay attention to how your body feels. Because a sign that you're super dehydrated is if you actually like get that almost low back ache after you've peed.
Because kidneys?
Because of your kidneys, exactly. Your kidneys are like, oh God, we need more.
We need it. Oh God.
Yeah. They are worried. They are really hard little workers.
Yeah, they are.
And they're doing their darndest to keep you up to par and get rid of all the extra shit that you're putting in them.
Good to know. What's next with Strong IV? So you're here at Clearwater Classic today. Like, what does your year look like? Are you still figuring it out? Because I'll give you a shout out. It's a fairly new company. You're just kind of blazing your path right now. And I think it's awesome.
It is a fairly new company. And I'm super, super grateful for the fantastic people that have encouraged and supported and kind of given me an avenue and given me a space to work. So Strong IV moving forward has a lot of competitions that we're working with that I'm super excited to help grow the strongman community and kind of help keep on educating people as to how to take care of themselves, and maybe give them the confidence to know that they're like, okay, well, I could push myself a little bit harder because I know I'm going to be taken care of. So right now, for sure, we've got all of the Pro Strongman League finals and stuff. So all of the Pro Strongman League weight finals around the country.
So you're gonna be back on the beach then, because they're a Virginia Beach one.
There's one in Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
There's one in Roanoke. There's one in Baltimore. There's one in Kokomo, Indiana. There's one in Dallas. Like I'm gonna be skipping all over with my team.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be super, super fun. As long as I have enough athletes sign up, I should be going up to the Cheyenne Celtic Festival.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Which is going to be a combination Strongman Highland sports festival. Coming up here back in Florida again in a few weeks is going to be the World's Strongest Manatee as part of WOD Wars.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
And then also going to roll out to Colorado for the Olympic City Pro-Am. So just trying to do what I can to give as much time and support to the community that has done so much to welcome me in. And then, of course, at the end of the year, when everybody comes together, plan is to again support Lynn and do help him out with OSG. And like, I can't say enough for the space that he gave. Like, he had us right there in the athlete
you were in the heart
area.
of everything at OSG.
It was so helpful to know, like, the athletes knew right where we were, the staff knew where we were. And it was really nicely set up and central, which I think is really important, is that it says a lot to athletes when the event organizer says, we're making space for this if you need a little extra help taking care of yourself. And at the end of the day, that's what Strong IV is about, is to help people perform their best.
I love that. Well, thank
So
you.
thank you so much.
And good luck this year.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. We'll have to do this again.
We will. I mean, I might see you again to come. So
Exactly.
at the very least, but in the meantime, I hope everyone drinks their water and electrolytes and understands all things IVs.
Drink your electrolytes and listen to your body.
Yes, I love it. All right. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.